Anna's earth characteristics are hard to see in some ways because they mesh so well with her fire characteristics. The magical things she does, which would be associated with earth, could also be placed in the transmutation or alteration category. She turns herself so hard that a sword doesn't split her, and she shatters the sword, and she shatters other things around her, but all these alterations could also be seen as fire magic, so it's hard to see and to know which category to place her magic in. This is the opposite of Elsa, who has a set of powers that seem to clash somewhat with each other. And this is the difficulty of understanding how Anna works, because your attention is constantly diverted toward Elsa when you think of magic. Had set up at the very beginning when we said that magic is something that's born of cold, winter air, and mountain rain. These are the conflicting water versus air aspects of Elsa's powers. They're also introduced with the guy who eventually mines this frozen storehouse of magic. That is Kristoff. And he is given a product that has a dual meaning. Ice in the standard sense, frozen water, but ice also in terms of the slang expression for diamonds. So, unlike the dwarves in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, we don't know that he's a hard-working, somewhat scruffy guy who mines something precious. Although we get that subliminally introduced later on, subtly introduced, when the trolls sing about him. They sing about the pear-shaped, square-shaped weirdness of his feet. Pear-shaped and square-shaped are the shapes of cut diamonds. So in this way, he's a little bit like Aladdin, who's the diamond in the rough, but he's a hidden diamond. And this is something that would especially appeal to an earth-based woman, earth and fire-based powered woman like Anna. Diamonds are something that are produced by great heat, fire, and great pressure, earth, at a great depth in the earth, and then brought up rapidly to the surface. And a fixer-upper is also something an earth person would be interested in, because it's a piece of underdeveloped real estate, or undervalued real estate that requires work, and earth people are very persistent and hard-working, and interested in money, if they can get a bargain. Now, this endears Kristoff to Anna. There's another way, strange way, that she might find Kristoff appealing, and this is associated with an earth sign in the zodiac, the sign of Taurus. Taurian women are presumably great lovers of gems and jewelry, but specifically, and most notably among zodiac signs, they are the women who appreciate working odors coming from a man's body. They like sweat, and this could be related to the alchemical association between earth and salt. So Kristoff is appealing in a couple of unusual ways. Olaf describes him as pungent, and the trolls describe him as smelly, but Anna never describes his smell in a negative way. Anna is also a very sensual person, which I think is an earthy quality. She likes to touch and hug and pick up and shake hands with everything she meets. This is the first thing she really imagines doing when she gets out of the castle for the first time in forever. And she wants to just pick up all the ducklings and wrap herself in the curtains when imagining who she's going to meet, and touches everything she can get on her hands on. Earlier she's like that too, hugging her parents when Elsa doesn't. The other particularly earth quality that she has is her position relative to the other classical elements. Earth is the heaviest element that falls to the center of the terrestrial spheres. So if you put it in around the other ones, it will always fall. And Anna is somebody who falls over and over again. She falls, as I can tell, a total of 19 times in the course of the movie. And this is the biggest pun run-on gag that I know of so far. a little bit like the match. You're no match for Elsa. Elsa has fire powers. So, and she actually starts the fire on her own because she couldn't have been done otherwise. It goes foop, like a gas flame when there's water sitting on the wood. So she actually is a match. She can light things. And she's the counterpart of Elsa in that she embodies the seasons of summer and fall, the way that Elsa embodies winter and spring. Now, the ways that she falls usually have to do with trying to establish a loving relationship with someone who at the same time is trying to usually freeze her to death. And the freezing comes from a sort of a narcissistic perspective. It says that love is putting someone else's needs before your own. And it's shown at least a couple of times to not work. When the trolls try to marry her off to Kristoff because they say, we need each other as a family. Anna would supply something to the trolls that they want. One thing might be political power. But they try to marry her off, and when they do that, which would be meeting true love as it's later defined, meeting the definition, because she would be putting the trolls' needs before her own, she starts to freeze faster. And when the trolls try to demonstrate true love's kiss and they kiss each other, she has another wave of cold go through her. And of course, when she finally does step in front of Hans's sword for Elsa, she completely freezes. And I think she thaws herself by her own powers, and could have thawed herself at any time because she's been manipulating fire and various other aspects of herself at various times through the movie. So some of the examples of how she falls are out of Elsa's bed, out of midair into the side of a snow pile when Elsa shoots her, off a bicycle, onto a suit of armor, into Hans's lifeboat, onto Hans, down a snowy hill and into a stream, off a wall into Kristoff's arms, to one knee when Elsa shoots her in the heart, down a flight of stairs when Marshmallow throws her out, off a cliff, into Kristoff's arms when thrown by trolls, into a pit when thrown by trolls, into Kristoff's arms when trolls try to marry her, to Kristoff, into Kristoff's arms when trolls mention true love, in Hans's arms when she's brought to him, off a couch while Hans douses the fire, to the floor after Hans locks her in, to the floor after Olaf helps her to the fire, and to the floor while they pursue Kristoff. So that's the biggest run-on gag in Frozen that you won't get if you don't know about alchemy and astrology.